This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
All right, we are back, the practice squad live, and I'm in a happy place before this episode, Stroz. I don't know how you're doing. You came in looking like you were sweating your ass off. Like, I thought you just finished running a race coming into this show. But I think we got a fun one planned. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, we always have fun on this show. But it's been hard to have fun shows planned with some of the stuff going on right now, you know? But I think we got a good one planned today. Coming up in a little bit. I don't even know how to tease the second segment, Stroz. I guess I will say I've had some dating issues in a pandemic world. And we're also going to talk about some of the, I guess, your biggest what-if moments in sports. But
I just want you to know real quick, I can't wait for the second segment. I also just seen, it might have been your last tweet before this video. What is going on with you and forks? Like, your life now revolves around spoons? Are you the spoon man?
Okay. If you didn't see the tweet that Stroz is referring to, I've lost some forks. I don't really know
how do you lose forks?
So here's
how do you lose forks? Look, here's the thing. I have a friend, right? And she tends to lose forks in her car. Like, it is a regular ordeal for her to go clean her car.
Is she eating with a fork and driving?
All the time.
Okay.
It's probably total hazard, too, because it's not like she's a great driver either.
Just going to put her on blast?
The thing is, like, there are forks everywhere in her car.
Okay, so I think what's happened is I've taken forks into work. And then just, I don't know, left them there? I don't know what the hell I've done.
Do you have a cube or a desk at work? Did they give you one of those?
No, dude.
I know every iHeart office is a little bit different.
And, I mean, I just started at this place, but no, I don't have a desk or anything. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if they've gotten lost in my backpack. I really don't know, man. But I've lost my forks. And so instead of going out and buying new forks, and I apologize, by the way, if you're watching Stroz just shrank. Normally, I get that fixed before the show. Oh, you're gonna resize throughout the show.
Oh, now I'm big.
Keep happening. But anyways,
it's cool.
I'm eating things that should be eaten with forks, with spoons. Pasta. I'd pulled pork with the spoon the other day.
Can I send you? When the show's over, I need you to give me your address. Can I just mail you some plastic forks?
Man. I mean, eventually I'll probably get around to buying forks, but right now it's just like, at the end of the day, if I can eat pulled pork with a fork, why not? Or with a spoon, why not? Like, what's the difference?
I mean, obviously, my one friend doesn't need her forks in her car, so maybe I can just go find them in her car and send those to you.
I don't need car forks. I'm good.
I'm just saying.
But
is a car fork a thing?
It's not for me. Pulling back the curtains real quick, I told Stroz before the show that he had permission to drive us off the tracks because I thought last week we had a lot of fun when he drove us off the tracks, and he didn't waste any time. But we are going to get to sports. I'm trying to pull it up. If you haven't seen, ESPN did a redraft. All 32 NFL teams. They did 4 rounds. And, it's like if you play Madden, the idea just, if you were starting your team now, there are no contracts, no nothing. Who are you drafting? And there's a lot of different angles that we can go with this. But the thing that stood out, I think, surprisingly to both of us, was how late Matthew Stafford went. Do you have the draft in front of you right now, Stroz?
I do. So, do you want quarterbacks that went ahead of him, or do you want to run down until Matthew Stafford gets picked? How would you like this?
No, let's just do quarterbacks. I'll say this. The number of non-quarterbacks that should have gone before Matthew Stafford is next to none. I'm not saying it's none. I'm not saying it's 0, but it's pretty close.
I agree with you 100%. You're trying to rebuild the franchise. You're trying to start over from scratch. So, arguably, your most important piece is that franchise quarterback. So, the fact that you are drafting, I don't know, a guy like, look, I love Christian McCaffrey, but drafting Christian McCaffrey or drafting Michael Thomas ahead of your quarterback is a little bit laughable to me. Even DeAndre Hopkins or Mike Evans, like those guys all went before Matt Stafford, who's a quarterback, goes. But Cincinnati starts it with Patrick Mahomes. Washington takes Russell Wilson. Detroit gets Lamar Jackson. The New York Giants then take Deshaun Watson. So your first 4 picks are all quarterbacks. Then you got to move down to Arizona at 8 with Drew Brees going before Matt Stafford. Dak Prescott going to Jacksonville at number 9. Carson Wentz going to the New York Jets at 11. Aaron Rodgers going to the Las Vegas Raiders at number 12. Joe Burrow going to the Indianapolis Colts at 13. Tom Brady ending up where Tom Brady ends up. with Tampa Bay at
That's
14.
the first one I need to jump in on.
Okay.
In a redraft, taking Tom Brady, I guess I don't know if that writer was just an idiot who thought he was only drafting for 1 year. But if you think that Tom Brady belongs in the top 15 of a draft where you're just rebuilding your team, I don't know what you're doing covering sports. That's without looking. The person who picked Tom Brady has to be like at least 60, right?
I can look for you real quick. Let me pull it up. I agree with you. Look, so this is a guy who maybe has 2 more years left on in his career. I mean, how much longer does Tom Brady have? You're looking to start your franchise over
he's
with
not
him.
like he's just not the Tom Brady that you knew 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like the best case scenario for Tom Brady at this point in his career is he's a fine quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of quarterbacks who go after him who should have gone before him. But I'm sorry.
So it's Jenna Lane. Jenna Lane is the one who ended up drafting Tom Brady. She is the Buccaneers reporter for ESPN. So Michael Rothstein did it for the Detroit Lions. Jenna Lane is the ESPN reporter, and she's a very young, fetching blonde who works for ESPN. So she goes with Tom Brady. I don't know what that says. I don't know what that is, but that's who did it. It wasn't a 60-year-old man. Does that make you feel better or worse?
I got nothing nice to say. It's just, I mean, like, no, it's nothing nice to say. I got lots of other things to say, but nothing I will say. I just, like...
All right, so...
She's not alone. There are a lot of stupid picks. Anyone who took Christian McCaffrey in the first round is an idiot. Not because Chris McCaffrey's great, but you're not drafting a fantasy football team. You're drafting, if you're taking a running back in a redraft in the first round, you don't know what you're doing. I joked, not seriously. I don't wish this on anybody. The person who took Christian McCaffrey should have been fired.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, again, if you were going to be a general manager and you were put in charge of drafting this team, I don't know why you're going to go running back first. It just, careers are short. It doesn't make any sense. You go get your quarterback, especially when you have a ton to pick from. So now, in a group of guys, at least these 2 guys right here, these next 2 picks,
before we go forward,
they're quarterbacks.
Do you have a problem with any of the ones we've named yet besides Tom Brady? So Mahomes,
going ahead of Matt Stafford?
Mahomes, Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz. This is not the right thing. Is it? Carson Wentz went before Deshaun Watson?
No. It's Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Mahomes, Wilson, Jackson, Watson. Those were your first 4. Oh, I have an issue with Drew Brees going before because Drew Brees is older, probably has 1 more year left on his deal, probably 1 more year left in the league before he retires because he's already got things set up with, I believe it's NBC to go into the booth next year.
Yeah, I had a problem with Brees too. Also,
Dak Prescott and Matt Stafford, I feel, are probably the same guy. I think Matt Stafford is a little bit more, I don't know if elite's the word I want to use. I think Matt Stafford's probably a little bit more skilled than Dak Prescott. Prescott is just younger.
This discussion yesterday when we were planning the podcast, and I think I'm probably a little higher on Dak Prescott than the average football fan. I have a tough time here, and I'm willing to admit I may regret it, but if I'm building a team, I think I would rather have Dak Prescott at this point in his career. I don't think he's substantially better, but he is substantially younger.
That's kind of where I'm at with it too, right? It's not so much that I feel he's better. He's just younger, and I think that might be why he gets the nod here. Carson Wentz goes before Matt Stafford. Again, I think that's an age thing. Aaron Rodgers, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago where we substituted Matt Stafford for Aaron Rodgers. We put Matt Stafford on Green Bay's team. We put Aaron Rodgers on Detroit's team. I feel like at this point in both of their careers, they are basically neck and neck with each other.
In terms of,
I think Aaron Rodgers,
or you're talking just a level of play.
In terms of who you want in overall skill. Joe Burrow's also
that's
there.
Tough. That's just such a you don't know. I think I'd probably rather have Stafford at this point, still 31, but I'm not going to hate on someone for the Burrow thing.
Look, Burrow's kind of an incomplete, right? You want a young quarterback who's your franchise guy. I get it, but you don't know what he's going to be able to do. This guy could be. This guy could be what Aaron Rodgers was when he came into the league, or he could be what Patrick Mahomes was when he came into the league, or he could be Jamarcus Russell. These next 2 guys I feel like are generic quarterback number 2. Basically, these are guys who are just like Matt Stafford yet they get elevated and they go at picks 15 and 16. So Denver takes Drew Lock, and then Atlanta takes Matt Ryan.
So Drew Lock is young enough that I think it's closer to the Joe Burrow than it is to the Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, that one is kind of wild to me, especially when you see how much earlier he went than Stafford, 12 whole picks. Matt Ryan is Matt Stafford, but has had a complete roster around him more than once. Like, we talked about this many times. Stafford in his career has had one good roster around him. Matt Ryan has had many more, and he's had more success because of it. And you know what happens when Matt Ryan has bad teams around him? They don't win. Like, I'm not a quarterback wins guy. You know that. But I think you can look at when Matt Ryan's had success in his career as far as wins, losses, and I think Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford are like literally, in terms of talent level, the same guy. I don't know how you can take Matt Ryan's 5 years older, I believe. I don't know how you can take Matt Ryan over Matt Stafford in that case.
Kyler Murray goes to Dallas. This one blows my mind here. And this is a guy who had a couple of good games last season. Teddy Bridgewater goes to Pittsburgh.
I can live with the young guys. I would take Stafford over Kyler Murray. I can live with the guys who we just don't know yet.
It just the whole thing with Teddy Bridgewater. I really liked him when I liked him when he played for Minnesota. Right, then he blows up his knee, and then he's basically a backup now. Signs a big deal, and that's basically off of him playing 5 or 6 games last year when he filled in for Drew Brees. You got to remember what they have down there too. I mean, they've got some pretty nice offensive weapons in Kamara and Michael Thomas, and their offensive line's pretty good. So is Teddy Bridgewater more a function of what he was playing with, or did Teddy Bridgewater really help make everybody else better? And I don't know what the answer is there. I guess we'll find out this year, but I don't know if I'm taking Teddy Bridgewater over Matt Stafford.
I think that
Jimmy Garoppolo goes to Chicago. Go ahead.
I think the Teddy Bridgewater one's laughable. If Teddy Bridgewater should be drafted ahead of Matt Stafford, then he would have gotten a starting position prior to now. Like, we wouldn't have had to wait for him to sit behind Drew Brees for a few years. Like, honestly, think about that for a second. Teddy Bridgewater, when its time was done in Minnesota, so he signed the backup deal in New Orleans, right? Was he traded there?
Yep. No, he signed a back. He was looking for a home.
So he signed a backup deal.
Yep.
And we have him as 4th, 5th, 6th, 14th quarterback? We have him as the 14th quarterback you'd start a franchise of. And he couldn't find a home 2 years ago? What changed? Because when he started, he wasn't that good. He was fine. Like, Teddy Bridgewater deserved to be a starter, and he will be, and I'm glad he will be. And I do believe, I kind of like his situation. I think that's an offense that's got a lot of great pieces for run after the catch in Carolina. Right. A coach who knows what he's doing in building an offense. I think he's going to be successful. But in terms of a good quarterback, if he was the 14th best quarterback now, he should have gotten a job 2 years ago.
It's laughable to me that he is this high and this much further than Matthew Stafford is. Jimmy Garoppolo goes to Chicago with the 19th pick. I know you have some issue with this.
I don't feel like Jimmy Garoppolo's proven anything to us. I feel like he had a special defense. He had a special running game. I mean, what do his numbers look like? I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
In the playoffs last year?
I'm not a give me one game kind of person. His numbers last year, I'll tell you what. His numbers are better than I would have thought off the top of my head. Almost a 70% completion percentage, almost 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. I'm not in love with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's only 3 years younger, which I think is probably shocking. I don't know. To me, I think if you ask people, they'd probably guess more than that. I definitely would not take Jimmy Garoppolo over Matt Stafford. Stafford has a longer track record of success than Garoppolo. If he was a few years younger, I think I'd be more okay with this one. But at 28, you're not gaining enough years to give up the difference in how proven they are. You know, because like if I told you that this year Jimmy Garoppolo is going to come out and just absolutely suck, you know, if I told you he came out and looked like Mitch Trubisky, would that surprise you?
No.
Now, if I told you Stafford was healthy, but he came out and was garbage, would that surprise you? Because it would surprise me. The only concern with Stafford,
it would surprise me.
Only concern with Stafford is his health, and you do need to take that into consideration. But in terms of like what they've proven, I just think Stafford's proven so much more than Garoppolo at this point in his career.
Yeah, if Stafford comes out and looks like absolute dog meat this year, I will be a little bit surprised. And look, you refer to me as a Stafford hater and a Stafford basher, but I'm telling you, going through this list, there are guys. There's no.
I want to respond to that. I don't actually know that I would call you a Stafford hater, a Stafford basher. I think that, and this is going to sound so mean, but it's completely genuine. Not that that makes it any better.
This is gonna be great.
I think your problem when it comes to Stafford is that you want it to be too easy. Like, you fail to actually use reason and logic. Like, when you criticize Stafford, it's almost always you not using your brain. Like, you're a smarter person than the things you say when you're bashing Stafford. Because you don't normally bash him. But when you do, it's because you're saying stupid stuff.
Would you say that I let my emotions get the best of me?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. But I don't think it's only that, man. I think a lot of Lions fans have this problem. They want to make it too simple. Like, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, Stafford didn't have the greatest year. And I remember getting a text that was like, Stafford has kids now, and he just doesn't care as much. Like, I remember he used to be fiery, and now he's not. And it's like,
Okay, hold on.
That wasn't you.
Look, I need you to realize, and I need you to give me credit. I've never once said anything as dumb as that.
Well, no, but that wasn't a crazy thought process. Like, people thought that. And I think it's because people want it to be easy. And I think that, like, that's a lot of the criticism Stafford's gotten in his career from Detroit fans has been that. It's been, like, this easy crap that's just not in reality. And I think you have a tendency to go there sometimes with Stafford. I don't think you're a hater, but I think sometimes you want it to be easier than it is. Because here's the reason, Stroz. It's because if it's not that easy, it's harder for you to buy that the Lions will ever be any good. If you can just say, once we replace this stupid quarterback, we can win, then it's a lot easier. Maybe you're not the person who does that, but I do think that's why Stafford gets the credit.
I don't know if Matt. I don't know if the Lions will ever be any good, and I think that's part of the problem and part of the insanity of being a Lions fan is you've got to deal with this organization where you're like, man, we've got some pieces. Like, Matt Stafford to me is probably a top 10, top 12 quarterback in the league when he's healthy. And look, we throw the caveat of when he's healthy in there because the last 2 years he struggled with a back injury. But I think he's a very good quarterback who can make a ton of throws. The guy's got a ton of arm strength, and he seems super intelligent. Seems like he can read a defense.
So if you're just joining us,
I just feel like this organization is just the shit.
If you're just joining us live, what we're trying to figure out is how many quarterbacks should have gone before Matthew Stafford in the ESPN redraft, because it feels like a lot more did than should have. Let's wrap up the couple to go, and then we'll wrap up this segment by basically picking the ones out we had a problem with, and then coming up in just a couple minutes, dating issues I'm having during the pandemic. A couple more, Stroz.
I can't wait for this. Okay, so Baker Mayfield goes next at 21 to Philadelphia. I love Baker. I get it. He's a younger quarterback. He's got moxie. I don't know if he's better than Stafford though.
Hail the Baker if he was a Lion last year.
Yeah, it probably would have been good. But I love Baker. I love the way Baker plays. Baker plays like me, like younger me. The throat slash, the nut grab, the basically get in your face and tell you to F. I love Baker. Baker is my dude. New England takes Sam Darnold at 23. I don't think Sam Darnold's better than Matt Stafford, but he does have age on him. He's younger, so okay, I guess. And then this is probably the lightning rod. Ryan Tannehill goes 25 to Minnesota. And to let everybody in on kind of how this topic developed. You and I were going back and forth, and I brought up to you that I feel like Matt Stafford is a much more talented and skilled quarterback than Ryan Tannehill is, thus making general managers like Bob Quinn and head coaches like Matt Patricia lazy, whereas Ryan Tannehill goes to Tennessee, wins 2 playoff games, gets this team in position to contend for a Super Bowl, thus losing to the eventual champs in Kansas City. But you have a general manager and you have a head coach who do their due diligence and basically formulate a game plan and build a team around him where they accentuate what he does really, really well, and they take things off the table that he doesn't do well. Whereas Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, the words I used were lazy, and they don't do those things. They just basically let Matt Stafford go out there and just
I don't
play
agree
ball.
It's lazy, but what I will say is I think that Matthew Stafford has allowed coaches and general managers to keep their jobs longer than they deserved. Because when you got a quarterback at that talent level, even if you don't have a team around him, more often than not, they're going to be able to win 6, 7, 8 games. And I think it's a lot harder to fire a guy who's had success. Like Jim Caldwell's a great example, right? He had an 11-win season. He should have won a playoff game. It's a lot harder to fire that guy when you've seen the levels of success he can have if his bad seasons are 9 wins. It's a lot easier to fire a guy who had 11 wins and then falls down to 4 or 5. But with Stafford, those things don't happen. So I do think Stafford has been the reason that some guys have had jobs longer than they should.
And I think you're probably right with that assessment. I just don't know. Matthew Stafford has shown the ability to go out there and win games by himself, right? I feel like you need to put things around him and really help him out and put him in a position to do more for this franchise. And I just don't feel like this organization has done that. Let's start to kind of wrap this up. And I don't think either one of us have a problem with the first 4 picks. Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. I don't think either one of us disagree that those guys should go before Matt Stafford.
No, they're all no-brainers.
So Drew Brees, I don't think either one of us thinks at this point should go before Matt Stafford if we're building a franchise.
Nope. Drew Brees needs to go. Let's just do it. I'm going to go. Drew Brees needs to go. Tom Brady needs to go. I'm going to let Aaron Rodgers stay. That's who I was debating on. Matt Ryan needs to go. Okay. Drew Lock needs to go. I'm close on that one, too. I'm a lot more forgiving on young guys. Mm-hmm. I just don't think, I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. I think Joe Burrow is going to be a stud, so I'm letting that one pass.
I think he's going to be great.
I don't know enough about Drew Lock to feel as good there. I'm going to let Kyler Murray stay. I think Teddy Bridgewater's laughable. Not okay with Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm okay with Sam Darnold. And Ryan Tannehill's a disaster. Ryan Tannehill, in his best year of his career, was carried by a running back. In the best year of his career. So he needs to go. So I'm saying Mahomes, Wilson, Jackson, Watson, Prescott, Wentz, Burrow, Kyler, Baker, and Darnold. I'm okay with. So I'm saying Stafford should have been the 11th quarterback off the board.
So going by your list, I'm going to remove Dak Prescott because I feel like Dak Prescott should go right behind Matt Stafford. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the next quarterback because we're building a franchise here. So the next quarterback after Matthew Stafford was Tua. So to remain consistent,
you're full of crap.
Program,
you don't believe this for a second. We're done with this. I'm not even going to let you explain.
Goes ahead of
you
Stafford,
are full of crap.
So I'm right with
I don't believe you.
He is the 11th
I don't
quarterback.
believe for a second you actually think Tua should have gone over Stafford. And I'm so glad we're on a live stream because if you are listening on podcast, we appreciate you, but it's too bad you can't see Stroz's face because you can tell he is full of crap by the face he is making right now.
I am remaining consistent.
We're moving forward. I don't need to hear your logic. We both say 11th, but you're full of crap. Okay, so
B, I love you.
Pandemic,
you're the best.
In this pandemic, there's some dating challenges, right?
There are some dating challenges,
and
You're just not rolling the dice and possibly getting STDs. You're possibly getting COVID now. You're getting a whole different type of virus.
Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, I'm not a super active dater. I'm not not dating, but I'm also not super active. But in this pandemic, it's especially when I was unemployed, you find yourself wanting to. But I'm not going out to bars. I did go to my restaurant for the first time. We talked about that, I think, in the last podcast. But I'm not going to go out to crowded bars, so that's off the table. And I had this realization about dating apps as I've used them a little bit recently. That's a little bit of a problem for me. The vast majority of women who are going to be willing to go and meet a complete stranger for a date on a dating app right now, I'll put it this way, couldn't disagree with me more politically. And if you don't care about politics when it comes to dating, that's awesome. I'm not judging anyone who doesn't care. But for me, those are things that I care so much about. I just don't, I don't think I could date a conservative woman. Just being honest. I can have a conservative friend. I have conservative friends. But when it comes to dating, those are two crucial things for me. And so I've matched with a couple girls and talked to them a little bit. But at the end of the day, Hinge is what I use specifically, and Hinge can show where you are politically. And at the end of the day, they're conservative, and it just, and they're the ones who are willing to meet up for the most. And I'm not saying this is a perfect science. That's not to say there's no liberal women who are willing to meet up right now, but I think they're in short supply and high demand.
So, look, I need you to help me a little bit,
it.
right? Because over the course of, I'll be honest with you, basically after George Bush got reelected, after W got reelected the second time, I was kind of like, cool, I'm done. And then Obama got elected, and I voted for Obama, and then Obama got reelected, and then he didn't do a whole lot of what he said he was going to do, and then I was like, I'm really checked out now.
Okay, hold on.
So I've kind of checked out of the political landscape.
But here's the thing:
ago.
It's not about like what politician you voted for necessarily.
No. I know, I get it. I just need you to help me out, because since that time, and remember, I'm older than you. Since that time, the political landscape has kind of changed, and now there are new terms that are thrown around. So a conservative is generally what? A Republican?
Yes.
Okay, and a liberal is generally a Democrat, right? Okay, and then is there crossing of the two? Is there like kind of fill me in on what I'm missing here, because I need to understand where you're coming from with your dating situation in regards to the political makeup, and why that might be an issue.
Saying. The person who thinks
I want to help you out. I want to get you.
The person who thinks COVID-19 is fake is not the person I want to date. The person who thinks it's a political hoax is not the person I want to date. And the person who's most likely to go out on a date with a stranger, because that's important. Like, I think you need to like, I understand like lots of people. I would say even the majority of people at this point are going out and like seeing friends again and like just trying to be smart. But I think the person who's willing to...
Can you pause for 1 sec? Just pause for 1 sec. So, because I want to make sure I'm understanding. So the people who think that there's a conspiracy theory, they fall into the conservative camp, or are those more liberal?
Oh, no, that's more the conservative camp. Oh,
for real? Oh, interesting. I thought they would be more liberal.
I don't want to get...
as far as it being...
I don't want to get too deep into why they believe it's a hoax. Okay. And that's not like, look,
okay.
I'm not trying to say that...
I just want you to know you're talking to a conspiracy theorist here. I have a whole bunch of thoughts on COVID.
I'm not trying, like, none of this is a perfect grouping, you know? Like, that's the problem with having this conversation, is you group everybody into, like, these small groups that they're just not perfect. But,
right.
Just in general, I would say that conservatives tend to lean more towards this isn't something we should be worried about. Liberals tend to lean more towards this is something we should be worried about. And so who's more likely to go on the date? The person who's not worried about it.
The person who...
And, I'm honestly, like, not... That person's fine. I have very good friends. You, dude, like, obviously you're not worried about it. But, like, I wouldn't date you.
I'll be honest with you. Early on, I was very nervous about it. And especially my parents, they both work for the post office. They had people dying left and right because the post office and their postal union did a really bad job protecting them. So early on, very much so. But as this is kind of wore on, I throw myself in different social settings all the time. I hate having to wear the mask. Sometimes I will wear the mask. Sometimes I won't wear the mask. If a business requires me to wear it, then I'll wear it. If I get away with not wearing it, I won't wear it.
I think that the majority of people at this point, like me, myself, I went out to dinner. I think the majority of us at this point are willing to see some people. But, like, who are you willing to, like, put... If you believe it's something to be concerned about, who are you willing to put yourself at risk for? You know? Is it this random stranger you met on a dating app? Or is it your close friends and family? Like, I just think that the person, the woman who's most likely to go on a date on a dating app right now probably disagrees with me on some very core beliefs. And it's made dating kind of impossible right now.
So look, I'm recently single. You're single. I've never used a dating app. I have no clue how to really use them. All that being said, I don't know how to use them. When it comes to the ladies,
70? Like, you download an app and then you move your finger.
I just haven't used one. I don't know.
Can you please show me how to turn on this DVD player? Like, what? Get the hell out of here.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not necessarily struggling to,
I know. I'm aware.
Get laid. And I just, I'm Captain Raw Dog here. So I don't have a problem. I'm willing to roll those dice and see what happens.
What inspired this topic? Yeah. Do you have the tweet I sent you? Because I think it's far more fitting for you to share it than for me to share.
I think the messages that went between us after that were
probably... No. Hold on. No messages went between us. Literally no messages went between us. I sent you a tweet, and then you just kind of did your own thing.
I couldn't help myself. I really couldn't help myself.
I knew you would like it.
Okay.
And I didn't know how we were going to do a topic on it. Like, we have a formula on this show. And this tweet doesn't fit our formula. But, like, sometimes you just got to let your talented people do what they do. And Stroz, to finish up this segment before we get into some of your greatest what-if moments, God, you look like you're so excited. I'm just going to let you do whatever you want to do with this. You told me you were going to let me lead this segment. I am done with my leading portion of this segment. The rest of it is all you.
Oh, it's so good. So you sent me this tweet. It says, New York City health advice discourages casual sex during COVID, but also says if you're going to have it, be creative with sexual positions and physical barriers, like walls, that allow sexual contact while preventing face-to-face contact.
There's so much to break down in this tweet. Like, I don't even know where to go. I don't even know where to go with it. My first thought was like, be creative. I don't care about the positions. Like, it doesn't even require that much creativity. But the physical.
I love the fact that they reference.
But the physical barriers part. And who was this tweet by?
This was Josh Barrio.
Okay, so not the tweet. Who was it? Who was it that
at JBARRO?
Who was he referencing?
He was referencing the New York City health.
So
advisor,
the New York City Health Advisory wants you to have sex through a wall. Casual sex. If it's not casual, you're fine, I guess.
So this led me to start thinking of different sexual things you can do with a wall. So that leads right to a glory hole.
Hold on. How many other things did you think of? I need to know. How many did you have in mind?
I mean, well, I really got stuck at glory hole. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't shake glory hole from because at what point does it become okay to have a glory hole? And for those of you who don't know what a glory hole is, it's basically a hole in the wall where you can fit your tallywhacker through, and there is somebody on the other end doing something with it.
And the New York Health Advisory says that that's the safest way to have casual sex right now.
That is the way that they would prefer you to have sex. So my first message back to you was, effing glory holes are approved by the Health Commission. Those generally are only things you see in porn, or you hear about some weird backwoods Alabama gas station where you're like, hey, there was a hole in the wall and I was hard and I stuck my wiener in it and we've seen what happened.
I've never been at a gas station where that conversation has come up.
No?
I'm also kind of curious, just like to dig deeper into it. In the PG side of it, they discourage casual sex. Are they okay with dating? Are they okay with meeting strangers? And if so, they have advice on how to have sex with them. Do they have advice on how to date them safely?
I want to know if they have like a tutorial, like, you know how when you go to the doctor and they give you like stretches because you've got a bum leg or you got a bum hand. I want like a diagram to show me how I'm supposed to be having sex with this stranger and how it's all casual or not casual.
Now, all I got before we wrap up this segment and get back into sports is,
look, I've got a glory hole reference and I've got a dental gam reference that I've got to make still. So,
well,
just
you
so you're
go
aware.
Wherever you want. The last thing I need to know is, will you be taking their advice
and stop having casual sex?
I meant more so the second part. The
glory hole. I mean, if I can find something to put between me and whoever it is, sure, why not? We'll give it a shot. I'm always down for some creative weird sex. Why the hell not?
Be safe, man.
I mean, whatever. I'll be, and if they have a problem with it, I'll be like, look, the New York City Health Advisor says that we need to do this. They say that glory holes are the key to protecting yourself from COVID. And if they don't, I mean, if they make it like a human-sized dental gam, you know what a dental gam is?
Yes. Sorry, I forgot you see my face on
you
the
do?
play.
Yeah. So you do?
Yeah.
You know what it is? Okay, so for those of you who don't, a dental gam is basically a female condom. You just slap it over her vag, and you can get to licking and poking and doing whatever else you got to do.
This is as far as we've gone on this show ever.
If they make a real life size one of those, then
I think
that would be.
You mean
cool.
like a full body one?
Yeah, like a human. Yeah, like a human size one. But I think you're gonna have to have like air holes. So I don't even know how that's gonna work, man.
All right, moving
Let me ask you this: when you have sex, do you sweat a lot? Do you get hot?
I sweat a lot
my body
when I walk.
runs like
so. Yes,
right. It's like I'm always warm. So whenever I have sex, it's like I'm just dripping and pouring sweat.
Okay,
so I don't even know how having sex with a wall is going to work or having it.
Nobody watching or listening needs to or wants to know any of that. I let you have your fun.
This was such.
I feel like 90% of the time, this middle topic is for me to have fun, but today it was for you to have fun.
This was so much fun.
Where does this rank?
I appreciate.
Where does this rank among your? Because to be honest with you, like it wouldn't even make my top 10 list. Where does this rank in your favorite topics? What do you label this? Is this episode 26?
Yes.
So we've done approximately 250, 260 topics. Where does this rank for you?
Oh, this is definitely top 5.
Yeah, it doesn't.
This one's one of my favorite, and then the getting shot one was one of my favorites.
That wasn't a topic. That was just a story that you like dropped on us out of nowhere.
Oh, I don't know however it worked. Whatever that was so much fun. And then I think our very first episode, the Stafford conversation, because that has lended itself. 26 episodes later, we are still pulling from that
is
episode.
Pretty incredible.
When you make fun of me.
That is pretty incredible. We've done, like I have referenced our first topic ever many times, and if you don't know what we're talking about, it was that you were upset the Lions wouldn't focus on a backup
they didn't
quarterback,
draft a better backup quarterback.
Which I've probably never been a bigger asshole than I was to you in that segment. But
and we renamed Darren Bevel. There was a whole lot that went on with that episode. It was great.
You know how not even just sitcoms, like lots of TV shows that have long runs. Eventually, they do like it's not best ofs, but they like show you their memories. We'll have to do that sometime. Not yet. We're not there yet. Maybe like 50th episode, 100th episode, something like that. We'll have to like flashbacks of this show. But we still got to go one more topic. Stroz, you sent me an article about what if Rasheed Wallace never left Robert Horry in Game 5 of the 2005 NBA Finals, and the Pistons win that game, go up in the series 3-2. And I just thought that we take that in a different place, into what are some of your biggest what-ifs in sports history. And I'm going to be honest with you. The reason I wanted to do this is because my biggest what-if in sports history isn't a professional sport. It's a personal sport. The biggest what-if in Brendan Riley's life. 9th grade football. Freshman football. I remember maybe a weekend we're doing some wide receiver drills, and I'm like 5'8", short, not short, but probably a little shorter than they want their wide receivers to be. A fat little kid, no speed on me at all. But they washed my hands, and they asked me what I thought about playing wide receiver. I was like, hell yeah! And the following week, our school had scrimmages against several other schools. It was like the biggest week of practice of the year, but it was technically before school started, because like freshman football started before school started. And my family went to Disney every year. So I was in Disney the week of scrimmages, which was the single biggest week for determining your positions. So you know who wasn't a wide receiver? This guy. Instead, I spent the year as a guard and a defensive end. My biggest what if in sports is, what if I didn't go to Disney? Would this little fat kid, because he was playing wide receiver, be inspired to actually continue playing football? And I don't know, man. I kind of think you might see me in the NFL on Sundays right now. What if?
Why wouldn't? Well, like just going by your physical description of yourself, why wouldn't they slot you in as a tight end?
I think, to be honest with you, I think there's a little bit of a like, this is a punishment for not being here in such an important week. Like, because the reason they were interested is because I was good at catching the football. I've always been very good at catching the football. I didn't have the build to be a wide receiver. But in 9th grade, I don't think it really matters. Like, if you're better than everyone at what you do, they're going to let you do it. I have real sports what-ifs. I just kind of wanted to share that because I think you're being robbed.
I love that
I think
story.
You're being robbed of Brendan Riley, the NFL wide receiver. All because I went to Florida as a freshman.
I love that story. That's a fantastic story. I didn't even think about taking it to a personal level.
I mean, no, I knew you wouldn't. That was going to be a surprise.
I absolutely love that story.
What are you?
I think.
What are your what ifs in real world sports?
Real world sports. What if the Pistons passed on Darko and instead drafted Dwayne Wade in the 2003 NBA draft?
It's funny because the question is always Carmelo. Nobody ever asked what if they drafted Dwayne Wade. And how about Chris Bosh? Like there's a list of guys that would have been better picks. Who would have been the best pick? Would it have been Dwayne Wade?
I feel like it would have been Dwayne Wade. Chris Bosh, I feel like was good, but you have to remember at the time you had a very young Tayshaun Prince who was really coming into his own. So I think that would have. I don't think the need was there for a guy like Chris Bosh. Whereas
Chris
Dwayne
Bosh at that
Wade
point in his career was a power forward. He was the same position as Darko. I mean, the league changed. Oh yeah, definitely. He went from a 4 to a 5. Like no, he was not. He wouldn't have messed with Tayshaun. The question would have been if you drafted Chris Bosh. I don't know what he looked like his rookie year. They still felt the need to trade for Rashid, and my guess is yes, because Mehmet Okur was a starter on that team, and he went on to have a hell of an NBA career. Chris Bosh as a rookie, yeah, he didn't do anything special as a rookie. Long term, I kind of think that would have been a better route because, like Dwayne Wade was a better player than Chris Bosh, but I just don't know, like long term, what's the role of Dwayne Wade on those Pistons?
Oh well, I think what you end up having is, well, you know what? Back then the league was different, so I guess I'm looking at the league. I'm looking at this pick through what the league is now, where you just have athletes out there and you've got guys who can shoot and you can kind of run a little bit small with 3 guards who can shoot.
And Dwayne Wade was so good so quickly. That would have legitimately caused some issues with, like, how the hell do we handle this team? And, like, they're good issues to have. But, like, by his second year in the league, Dwayne Wade was scoring 24 points a night. I think Dwayne Wade, if they figure it out, Dwayne Wade, you're probably talking... Like, people ask the question with Carmelo, how many championships do you win if you draft Carmelo? I don't know that you win that many more. I do think you win in 2005.
I think you maybe win one more.
But yeah, I don't know, man. More, like, I'm not a Carmelo guy. Like, I think he's a great player, but, like, I just don't think he's the guy you win with. It's funny, because, like, I do think that's a thing in the NBA. While in the NFL, I don't like quarterback wins. I just think, like, the styles of some guys' play doesn't fit winning in the NBA. And I think Carmelo's one of those guys. Wade, I wouldn't say that about. Bosh, I wouldn't say that about. I think that if they had gone Wade or Bosh, particularly Bosh, because you had Ben left, right? And Rashid moved down to the 5, and Antonio McDyess replaced him. McDyess was a really good role player, but Chris Bosh, like in Toronto before going to Miami, was an all-star. And so if Ben leaves and your lineup is now Chauncey Rip, Tayshaun, Bosh, Sheed, I think you probably get past Miami both years. Man, I don't know if those Celtics upset you. Like, I think you might win a couple more championships. I think that was probably the best pick.
I think also if you were to take Dwayne Wade, you also aren't going up against such a competitive Miami team. The Miami team who basically was your undoing, because the biggest rivals for the Pistons were that Indianapolis, were the Indiana Pacers, and then it was the Miami Heat. So Dwayne Wade on that team, on that Miami Heat team, he was the solidifying force in what they ended up winning. That I think it was like the 2007 NBA championship.
Where does Shaq go? Because it's not Miami,
right? Like, so you basically it's like,
or maybe maybe it is. You know what? No, maybe it is. We didn't know when Shaq went to Miami. We didn't know quite how good Dwayne Wade was yet. So maybe Shaq is paired with I don't remember the order in that draft. It was LeBron, Darko, Carmelo. Was Wade 4?
Wade was 5, so Bosh went next.
Okay, and then Wade.
Yep.
Somebody probably takes Darko. They probably either get Bosh or Carmelo. I don't think Darko falls to 5. And if he does, that's who they get. Miami's useless. Yeah, that's always an interesting one to go back on. One that I don't think we talk about enough, and this is in the opposite direction. What if Sam Bradford doesn't return to school the year the Lions take Matt Stafford? Because Sam Bradford was considered the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah, that was the hot topic. Like, do you take Stafford or do you take Bradford?
I don't even know where to go with it. Like, what do the Lions do? I imagine they take Bradford. Do they? Are we still?
I mean, looking at it now,
are we still in the midst of a playoff drought if the Lions take Sam Bradford?
I mean, I think so, because if you look at it now, Matt Stafford was heads and tails the better quarterback of the two.
Oh, yeah, not even close. I mean, Bradford had a lot of trouble staying healthy early in his career, but so did Stafford. But when they both came out of it, Stafford was far and away the better quarterback.
What if the Lions beat Dallas in the NFL wildcard game in 2014? Their next challenge would be getting by that Green Bay team, and they had split that year with that Green Bay team. I could see them
I'll
beating
tell you
Green
this,
Bay.
Jim Caldwell doesn't get fired for 9-7.
Nope.
I don't know if he's still here because I don't know what he would have done last year. But Jim Caldwell would have had at least one more year as your coach if he won a playoff game. Who did you say they would have played next? Green Bay? Who had beaten them twice that year?
No, they split with Green Bay that year. They split.
Home. Okay.
Detroit.
We just watched
won,
this. I should know this.
Detroit won early in the year. Detroit won early, and then they ended up losing to Green Bay week 17.
Okay. Man, I don't know.
So they had split with Green Bay.
Go into
so I think there is the possibility that they could have won that game.
Hey,
so you're now looking at a Matt Stafford.
I'm looking at it right now. They were the 6th seed, and the NFL reseeds. They'd have gone into Seattle, who ended up winning that Super Bowl.
You're right.
I think the answer is they probably get smacked.
Yes, they would have.
Actually,
you're
lost
absolutely
that
right.
Super Bowl.
Absolutely. But you're looking at a team that has now a playoff win. Matt Stafford has a playoff win. So I think that looks different. I think you're right. Jim Caldwell doesn't get fired for a 9-7 season. I think things change as far as that franchise goes if they get that playoff win.
How about? And I don't think things change too dramatically. But what if the Tigers pay Max Scherzer instead of Anibal Sanchez?
Dude, that is a great what if. And
I don't know that it extends the window all that much.
I don't know if it does either. The whole thing with Max Scherzer, though, was the offer that was originally extended to him by Mike Ilitch really felt like it slapped him in the face, and he was really, really upset by it. So, I mean, you're going to have to, I guess you were going to have to back a Brinks truck up because the guy had been, a 2-time Cy Young winner?
I mean, and the Nationals did.
Yeah, for sure. They gave him a ton of money. But you're right. I don't think it extends the window all that much. My Tigers what if that pitching staff knew how to field a baseball in 2006?
I don't know, man. They were so outclassed. Look back at that 2006 roster. That wasn't a good baseball team. I don't know how the hell they got to the World Series.
I don't think that Phillies team was all that good either, though.
That was the Cardinals.
Oh, the Cardinals team. I'm sorry, Cardinals, not Phillies. The Cardinals, yeah. I don't think that Cardinals team was all that good.
They had the best player in the league. Wasn't Albert Pujols prime of his career at that point? Or am I a little early? I might be a little early.
I think you might be
I don't know. I mean, I guess that Tigers team was a little better than I think. They did have Maglio and Pudge.
But it totally wasn't supposed to happen for them that year.
Kenny Rogers was the ace.
It occurred.
Do you remember how good Kenny Rogers was?
Yep. So here, let's see. On the final day of the season, the Cardinals made the playoffs. The team finished with a 75-86 record, and they were the last team to make it into the playoffs. They made it on the final day. Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't a very good team.
Were the Tigers the better team? Whenever I think back on that series, I honestly think back, and I still do believe this, that Tigers team wasn't a World Series team. Their starting pitching rotation, Kenny Rogers was 41 years old, late part of his career, got hot as hell, but was not that good. Nate Robertson was meh. Zach Miner was meh. Jeremy Bonderman, he was fine. And obviously, Justin Verlander was Verlander was a rookie. That wasn't the Verlander we came to know. Pitching staff was underwhelming. And then the batting lineup, what I would say about the offense was that there wasn't a single place where you go, that's disgusting, outside of maybe Brandon Inge at third base. You had Pudge. This is showing Chris Shelton, but Sean Casey was a starter by the end of the year. I think he's the one who played in the World Series. Polanco, Guillen, Inge, Craig Monroe, Granderson, Ordonez, and Marcus Thames. You know what? It wasn't a terrible team. It just didn't have a lot of firepower. Maglio and Pudge were great pieces, but outside of that, on pitching or hitting, I thought they were pretty underwhelming. But you're telling me this Cardinals team might have been worse.
I mean, look, this Cardinals team was really led by Chris Carpenter, and you did have Albert Pujols. You had Jim Edmonds, who I believe at the time was towards the end of his career. Juan Encarnacion was there as well, but it wasn't like it was a who's who. Honestly, they did not. Dude, I just remembered being like that was the one shot I really felt like they had. They had a much better team. In what? I think it was
2013, I think.
2014 might have been the year. 2013 might have been, 13 when they had David Price. I mean, they had a squad then. They ended up losing to the Red Sox. But I felt like there was something special years about that team.
The fact that the Tigers never came away with a World Series, let me tell you, that's a topic here. Whenever I mention I'm from Detroit, like people care about that. That team was so special and never won a championship. We got to wrap this up. It's been a long episode. Just out of respect, do you have any Red Wings one? I think there's one obvious one that you want to mention.
What if the Red Wings would have signed Marian Hossa instead of Johan Franzen?
Probably extends their window some. I don't know that it makes a dramatic difference. The last year of relevance that I remember for the Red Wings, I want to say, so they lost the Cup in 2009. I think the following year they lost in the conference finals to the Ducks. Remember, I was still into hockey back then, so I could be off.
They lost to the Sharks.
Was that the conference finals? Okay.
Yes.
Did they lose one to the Ducks soon after that? Maybe that was before 08.
I think maybe 2000. They did lose before that. They did. Yeah, they did. That was when I think Babcock was coaching.
So maybe that was
the Ducks.
Before that. Yeah, I do remember the Sharks now because they fell down 0-3 in that series, and I think they took it to Game 7, but ended up losing in Game 7 if I remember correctly. So, who knows what happens there if you got Hossa. And then there was obviously that series where they lost to Chicago in a tight one in the second round. That's the last year I remember them being relevant. I don't think, and Chicago had Hossa.
Yep.
I don't think that it dramatically changes their window, but I do think it probably extends it a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think you're right. It doesn't. I don't think it alters things too much. I think what it does though is it gives you a better player on the ice because remember Johan Franzen, I think it was after 2010, doesn't really come back and play. And I don't know if that contract is still on the books, but they gave him a fairly good-sized contract that had hindered this team for quite some time, having to pay him out. So it gives you a piece, and it gives you a little bit of flexibility with your salary cap.
All right. Anything else you need to get out before we wrap this show up?
No, man, this was a fun one.
It was. We actually had some real sports to talk, kind of like not on the field, but like not new sports stories. I guess it was a good time. I don't know if it's going to be the same time next week.